I'll kick this off fairly quick and I'll go straight into it. As you see up there, Graham Henry, All Black coach, and he understood the importance of an environment in particular. And it's all about developing and obviously progressing people onto another stage. I don't know whether Peter designed this or not, but the last two keynote speakers, actually, I'm kind of the next kind of phase in that regarding creating that environment where the players are progressing and developing at all times. I'm not going to read through that because you can read it yourselves, but for me, it's about the key thing is about developing people. It's people skills, creating that right environment for them in order to achieve their full potential. That's what I'll be doing for the next, I suppose, 45 minutes. I'll be going through my own journey as such for about 4 or 5 minutes, because if you want to create a learning environment and the proper environment, you must first be able to handle yourself as a person regarding control and everything else. Then we'll talk about Michelangelo for about 2 or 3 minutes regarding the environment he was in, what does the learning environment entail, and the rest of the kind of anecdotal stories are there towards the end. So I'll just kick on straight away. This is my own philosophy and kind of methods and templates that I use regarding my own coaching. On the left here hand side, I credit this to kind of Coach Education, Croke Park, Connacht Council. And I would have got great training about 6 or 7 years ago from the lads there up in Beacon. Great work regarding how to present, introduce the O2 model, and Pat has evolved that into the total playing performance, and he's evolved it even further into Coach 10. So I would have used that an awful lot and then added different facets and different pieces in the jigsaw to my own, I suppose, philosophy and methods, the way I want to do things. At the bottom there regarding OST, I won't be using that to talking about that today. That's regarding game strategy. So what's our objective in the course of the game and what strategy and tactics we use. On the right hand side, learning environment plays a huge important part in all this, creating that right environment for the players and for the coaches, more importantly. And at the very, very top is regarding the leadership and management. I was lucky enough a couple of years ago to do a course in Maynooth. I did postgrad level 9 in education, management and leadership, and learned an awful lot there regarding how to deal and manage people and how to lead, obviously, because players need leadership, but obviously they need to be managed also. And that's a completely different skill altogether. At the heart of it is our value system. That's probably the overriding theme in the conference today, is regarding the value systems you have as a coach. So within that, for me, it's about trust and honesty. It's creating rapport and relationship with that player. I can't give feedback to a player unless I have a relationship with him. He won't trust me. It's not a safe environment. So for us, the relationship side is a huge, huge part of all this. Dr. Liam Hennessy is probably correct in saying it's not about being their best friend, but you must know the player. And I'll show you a video in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes time regarding the importance of knowing the player and obviously how to communicate with him. Underneath all that then regarding respect, empathy, spirit, and obviously heart and fight. So that's a key part for us within the GAALearning structure, that we create that spirit within the group and that the players at all times, I suppose, have the heart and fight regarding the follow through what we're about. Continuous improvement and marginal gains is what we strive for. I would have used this from the All Blacks. That's what the All Blacks do regarding their structure. So we're all times looking for incremental, I suppose, significant rises in what we do. It could be something small. After every game we play, we look and review regarding what we're doing. I'm looking in regards I'm a teacher and a tutor. So I'm well skilled and versed in the art of teaching, and I suppose extracting the information for the players and giving it to them. But that's a skill in itself. You got to trust the process. So this is all a process. This won't happen for us until probably next April, when I put all these pieces together, when the panel is picked and ready to go. Then we'll piece all this together. At the very, very top of it is performance. At the top of the apex is performance. That's hugely important. For me, it's not about winning All Irelands because they're minors. It's about developing the players as such and bringing them on to the next level. If you win an All Ireland along the way, that's fine too. But it's not going to define me as a coach or who I am. It's probably an entirely different story when we get involved in senior management, where the ultimate aim is obviously to win an All Ireland. But for me, I'm clear in my philosophy regarding what we want to do, is improve and develop the players at all times. Last year, you had the Special K presentation from Breen Ryan. I looked at that during the week, and I usually pick one or two things from it. And Breen kind of unlocked the Kilkenny system, a model, by using two words in particular. One was competition, that we always compete. Hugely important, hugely important. That environment has to be competitive at all times. We're lucky in Galway in regards our competition structure, in underage in particular, is very competitive. We had 1,000 games, over 1,000 games played underage hurling last year in Galway, from minor down as far as under 10, and that didn't include go games. So there was 1,000 games played in Galway last year. Some of the teams, for example, I was spoken to prior to Christmas, some of the teams that on the 14, 15, 16 level put up to 24, 25 competitive games during the course of the year. So like Galway have a template in the model, it's a breeding ground for hurlers. I'm not here to talk about the senior team and how we didn't win All-Ireland since '88. That's a different myriad of problems altogether. My journey as a coach then, so on the left-hand side here, that's 1988. We competed in under 12C competition. At the back row there, on the left-hand side, Jimmy Duggan would have played for Galway in the 50s. Then you had Paddy Kearns on the bottom left-hand side. You have John Hines, the current CEO. All the lads in the picture would have played with Mellows in the 40s, 50s and 60s. And our last county title, senior-wise, was 1970. And we haven't won one since. But that team is an interesting little story regarding the environment that I grew in. I don't ever remember, I suppose, getting a negative comment, ever, in my whole 10 years involved in that setup. That's in the plots in Wood Quay. It's not even a full-size pitch. So every Saturday and Sunday morning, we'd walk down 10 or 12 of us from the housing estate, and we'd play in small-sided games, 7, 8 aside. Before there was a go against philosophy at Nils, we were doing it back in 87 and 88. So under 12C, we actually won a medal that year. We won the competition. And that team progressed on to under 16B. And again, teams stayed together with the same management team. Again, the environment was very, very safe in what we did. No negativity as such. And then that team progressed on to minor A. So in the space of 6 years, we've gone from the C to B to A. And again, we won the minor B straight away after under 16. And then the following year after that, we competed in minor A. On the right-hand side is my journey as a coach. So what I learned from that, I tried to replicate a lot of the teams that I was involved in. My first coaching job as such was, I repeated my leaving cert in St Mary's College in Galway. And when I repeated, I was overage for the hurling. So the first coaching job I would have got was coaching the senior team. So the lads touched on it last night regarding third level institutes, bringing players back in and giving them the coaching job. So I had a huge amount of leadership, I suppose, qualities to learn inside in that setup. Obviously, we had a success last September. Then we had Fergal competition. So I work in Galway Community College, and I explained in a while what my job was entailed in that. The nice part of the story, these lads down the right-hand side. 2 years ago, we kind of put a team together. It was the old VCs were all merged together. So we put a GRETB team together, so we call it Galway Roscommon ETB. These lads on the bottom right-hand side, I say if you put them all together, they wouldn't get 500 points. Not a notion. These are lads that had very, very poor leaving certs. They came back into us, we put them on PLC courses level 5 and tried to progress them on obviously the third level. But these lads, we played Maynooth in a quarter final, really cold night, down in Kinnegad. We won by about 3 or 4 points, and then we played Trinity College Dublin in the final. So you can imagine, think now these lads with less than 500 points, and your 10 lads were playing Trinity College Dublin, the look on their faces. But the funny part about it was, I told them before, and I said, look lads, some of you will never get as far as these people will get in the other dressing room. But I says, for one time in your life, you're going to compete with these fellas. All these fellas have mostly everything they want in life. They have 600 points, they'll go very, very far. But this environment that you're in, this is your environment, you're going to compete. They went out and won by 4 points. And that team progressed then obviously on to the Fitzgibbon weekend in Belfast, and trying to bring them to Belfast logistically and the whole lot was a nightmare in itself, but a huge learning curve for them and for me. At present on a Friday night, I coached under 6s, so that's my anchor. So the key part of any leadership is that you're anchored and you're grounded at all times. So in the 6s, my son's there on the left-hand side, so we have a full-time coach and officer now in the club. We started this kind of pilot project 3 years ago. He goes to all the schools on the east side of the city, about 6 or 7 different national schools. So we have up to about 60 plus kids from under 8, and we try and develop them and progress them along. So I do that, to be honest with you, for a bit of enjoyment, a bit of fun, a bit of crack. It's a total switch off for me. Paula Radcliffe, you're probably well aware who Paula is. And again, as I said, and I touched on this at the very, very start, Part of the process of leadership is managing yourself. So Paula would have used this little, I suppose, analogy in comparison for her life. Each one of the balls represents some pillar in her life that's very, very important to her. So the green one is her career, okay? That's a sponge ball. The red and the blue is her health, and the red one is obviously her family. They're made of glass. So the green one, a sponge, is her career. So if she didn't achieve what she wanted in the Olympics or the World Championships, her career, that was made of sponge. That bounced back up to her. She could recover from that. But if she dropped either of the top two balls regarding her health and her family, they're made of glass. They mightn't recover from her. So as I said, a huge part of an environment is managing yourself. Huge part of it. So I use that I suppose, an awful lot. So this is my life, I suppose, at present. I'm 39 years of age, and this is what I juggle. Top one is Galway Community College, so I work there. And I have different range of roles there regarding that school. Great place to work. I had two good bosses in Brian Mealy and Shane McLaren. But in that school, I've learned a huge amount regarding leadership and management and environments. We have 36 different nationalities, and we have 80 plus travellers. Okay? So within that environment, it's very, very challenging. So a couple of years ago, we ran into a bit of trouble regarding, I suppose, behaviour and discipline and everything else. We couldn't manage what was happening inside in the school, so we had to go away and do CPD. So I went off to Maynooth, myself and the current principal, and we did a course in education, management and leadership. Brilliant course regarding teaching us how to deal with people, and I suppose bring it on. In the middle is my family, hugely important to me. My wife won't go in the picture because she didn't want to be seen in public, but the kids are fine with it, no problem. Then my health, hugely important part of it, is managing yourself as per normal, that you have a balance in your life. And then obviously my current role regarding the club. I only retired, I suppose, last year, 2 years ago. It was kind of forced retirement. They told me to retire. I didn't want to retire, but I retired. Then obviously the county, and then the GA tutoring. So the GA tutoring has kind of opened my mind to kind of other areas, and I suppose Liam Hennessy and the speakers before me, I think Alan Swinback, we're talking about environment and feedback and growth mindsets and the whole lot. Yes, CPD, continuous professional development, is hugely, hugely important. Hugely important. That you're seeking and trying to learn new things all the times. We progress on. Michelangelo, a number of years ago, timing of the Celtic Tiger, and we all had loads of money, and the SSIAs, and we all said, sure, we'll go on a holiday. So I had to go to a wedding in Sorrento. It's near Naples. And part of what I wanted to do was I wanted to go to Rome because I'm a history teacher, that I have a degree in history. I wanted to see what Michelangelo piece of work, his main body of work, his masterpiece was the Pieta. But when I was there, it didn't strike me as such the environment that Michelangelo had to be exposed to. So I have up there regarding when he was age of 6, that his mother died, and the father didn't farm him out, but put him into a family who were obviously farmers and everything else, but the person he kind of got most contact with was the father of the household, who was obviously a sculptor. Now Michelangelo is an interesting character in regards, he didn't regard a painter as I suppose, as something that could be bestowed upon you. He didn't regard it and didn't say to himself, right, I want to be a painter. He wanted to be a sculptor, and that was very critical for him. So he was handed a hammer and chisel at 6 years of age, rather like us handing hurdles to little fellas at 6 years of age. But the key part was this, with all this, is at the age of 7, Michelangelo was sent on an apprenticeship, and he served that for 7 years with his tutor and teacher, Domenico Ghirlandaio. And because of the training he got there after the 7 years, at 14 then he was ready to progress on and become a journeyman. So when you become a journeyman, you have to go and discover yourself, learn again, yet again, and try and get someone to sponsor you. So at the time, Florence was the kind of the hot spot for Renaissance artists and painters and thinkers and philosophers and the whole lot during that time. So he kind of gravitated towards Florence, and there you had the famous Medici family who sponsored him. Then the Pope got wind of this new kid in town, new kid in the block, and he wanted to find who he was. So he commissioned Michelangelo to do the Sistine Chapel. So when you see the Sistine Chapel there, that's obviously God touching Adam. You see it here. What's God in? He's inside in the brain. Okay, so every little cartoon you see in the Sistine Chapel, there's a hidden meaning regarding Michelangelo. His piece of work, his main masterpiece, was obviously the Pieta. So when you see it for the first time, the Pieta, you're kind of awestruck, you're kind of saying to yourself, right, when they talk about geniuses and the whole lot, that's a genius. Hammer and chisel at the age of 6, he created that piece of work. He started when he was 17, and then he finished it at 24. And the remark he made when he was brought down and it was unveiled and the whole lot, and this is in his, you can buy his, actually still get his autobiography, he says, if they only knew how hard I had to work, they wouldn't regard me as a master at 24 years of age. We'll move on. So what does the learning environment look like? Okay, so a key part for us is obviously the player, the tutor, teacher, and the knowledge bank. The knowledge you have as a coach. So all of you are here today to acquire, I suppose, knowledge and to bring it back and to use some of it. Your purpose is usually important. We're all GA people, a wonderful community, okay? Do a huge amount of work in the country and globally and the whole lot. But our common purpose is what? And Lean would have spoke on strategy there and everything else. But what's your purpose? Is it to improve the players? Is it to develop them? Is it the winning mindset? That's for you to kind of work out for yourself. The relationship I spoke about already. Valued is hugely important. When I go to work every day, if I don't say hello to a member of staff, I get checked on it in the evening. They'll say, Jeff was in bad form there. So I make my business every morning, when you're going around doing your jobs in the morning, everything else, you say good morning to everyone because they want to see valued and respected. When they ask for a meeting with you or send you an email, you have to give them time and listen to them and obviously observe what they want to do and obviously take out an action. Your body language is hugely important. 70% of communication done is by body language. So when you're talking to your player and your facial expression, your shoulders are crunched and everything else, that affects them. So when I'm on a Friday night, when I arrive up to the 6-year-olds, I open my shoulders up, I'm smiling, I'm talking with them, I'm engaging with them, and it kind of sets the tone for them and makes them comfortable. You cleared on that? An interesting thing last week, whatever talk was on, Joe Smith was doing, I don't know what he was doing, but it was on in the Irish Independent regarding feedback he got from the players at the end of the year review. The most important part of the year for him when he was with Leinster, the information he got from the players was, it wasn't a tactical or technical thing, it was the handshake and exercise in the morning. The handshake and exercise in the morning, when they were brought in, the players shook hands with each other and said good morning, and they all introduced each other. Brian Driscoll, probably one of the top rugby players of all time, knew every academy player's name. So that's how much Joe Smith and Brian Driscoll valued relationship and valued the player. That's how much they cared about it every morning. Pat Lamb is involved in the Connacht, the president. I did a talk with Pat before Christmas. Pat also values that, and for Pat, he's invented a handshake with all the counties in the province. So that's what these guys are working at, the importance of relationship and players being valued and working in a safe environment. Working in a safe environment. And obviously a huge important part of any environment that was touched on in the previous speaker was the art of reflection, and I'll delve into that more later on. So when you reflect, you actually think about what just went on. And what I want to do is give you the tools that when you leave here, you say to yourself, right, he's after giving me 2 pieces of information here that I can use. Because what an environment is about, an learning environment, the key part for me is this, is developing the critical thinking player. How do I develop the critical thinking player? Now what I will be doing with you, we can all spot and fix most of us on the coaching pitch, but so when we get the data analysis after the game, how we actually get the players to critically think and how to improve themselves. Because remember, my key philosophy is continuous improvement and marginal gains. And obviously a key part for the environment is enjoyment and fun. And we often fail to kind of grasp that and everything else. It has to be enjoyable for both management and players. That only happens if the environment is created by you as a coach and as the manager. Benjamin Franklin. So I can go here and I can talk to you and teach you and stand up here and do a lecture, and it's very, very easy for me. And thankfully teaching has moved on a great degree in the last couple of years. So Benjamin Franklin, tell me I will forget, teach me I will learn, and involve me and I will remember. So it's easy for me, but I can't come down to the podium and told because the cameraman won't spot me. So I would like to come down to you and ask you questions after all this is over, but we'll see if I have time for that. So what we're going to do is, we're going to analyse the Clare Cork All-Ireland final 3 years ago. And Donald Grady did a piece in the Examiner during that week regarding the tactics and strategy and the whole lot. I just want you to look at and observe, okay? It's going to be played for 1 minute, and then we're going to play the clip from the game, and then we're going to analyse it regarding, I say, 2 key questions. So off we go.
So to counteract this system, this is the system that Clare do. Cork then are faced with the extra defenders, as I said. So for me, if you were attacking that Clare goal, this zone here, you have already, we'd say 9 playing as a double centre back. This zone then becomes right a no-fly zone, right, to catch a military term. No point in Cork hitting any ball in there, right, because it'll be swept up. So the strategy would be, forget about hitting long ball in there from the half back line. Any ball that goes in there must be completely accurate and find who's ever in there. It may be 14, it may be just 13 has come across, or it might be 15 at times, but the ball has to be driven in from the half line here so that you're angling it in, right, at an angle and cutting out number 6, or that you're running at the defence and that you're popping it in and maybe 11 plays deeper.
Okay.
So for Cork's strategy, to attack that, they have an extra man back here, so obviously, and Dinesh the keeper.
I use it myself at times, and obviously Waterford use it to a great degree of success. All right. So if I was the coach now present, and I'm delivering that, and the players are observing, I actually don't know how much the players have learnt now at this stage. So I have to check for learning. So I might have to go to the player and say, okay, right, what did you learn there? Now, if they do it individually, they're uncomfortable. If you do it in pair work, they're more comfortable, but if you do in collaboration and group work, that's where the real learning takes place from each other. You clear on that? So I have a small piece of knowledge, demonstrates them, because 90% of learners, 90% of the players that you're dealing with are all visual learners. You start talking and giving a big speech, by the 3rd sentence, they forgot about it. You clear on that? So 90% of the lads that you're dealing with, or ladies, they're all visual learners. But you must check for learning. I learned that from the tutoring. I didn't learn that from my teaching. Okay? Let's move on to the next clip.
Nicky O'Connell is coming on, number 20, and it's Podge Collins, who hasn't scored today, hasn't been terribly involved, is the one who goes off. Here's a chance. Lihan stopped, 3 men ready for it. Harnedy scores! First ever championship goal for Seamus Harnedy, coming in the 60th minute. And so with 10 minutes to go in the All-Ireland final, the teams are level once again. Look at the number of players waiting for it, and Harnedy was the one who availed of the opportunity after such good work by Conor Lihan. Hit that one, came back off the defender and buried in the back of Pa Kelly's net.
I'd have to say lovely play by Conor Lihan, great first touch and a great save then first of all, but Harnedy has had a fantastic match for Cork. His work rate and his application all day has been immense. He's 1-2 now on the board, and now draw a match again after 60 minutes.
Some fantastic
performances. There's no separating these two teams.
Sides,
unbelievable
really.
match again today.
Absolutely. Out they come once more. Harnedy waits, takes it up. Across here, Moylan's looking for it, can't get to it. That's a fabulous catch by Donald O'Donovan. You were saying you weren't seeing an awful lot of him. Well, there he goes. Stephen Moylan from Douglas is after him. He hooks him. Again, it's Donald O'Donovan, the Clonlara player. Slipped inside here, in as far as Cathal McInerney in this thrilling match. Back towards Colin Ryan, elegantly striking it, but inaccurately so as well. And a missed opportunity.
Okay, we often do this with Leavemasters and juniors, but I used this with the minors last year. You can use this with any level. 2 key questions that you ask, right? Why and how, as opposed to when and where. When you use why and how, they're open-ended questions. So when you use open-ended questions, it opens the mind straight away, because they have to think. So one of the key questions I could ask the player now is, why did Cork score their goal? So he might look at that clip once, you look at it a second time, and then he said there's a lack of communication between the centre-back and, obviously, the wing-back. So how do we rectify that? Because you have to have a solution to the problem. So then you put them in pair work again, and you say to them, right, give me a solution to the problem. Right, greater communication. Was your half falling out? Was your midfielders in front of you? Were you communicating effectively together? Now, Croke Park's a different environment because the players won't hear you from about 8 feet away. They won't hear you. So communication and visual signals are hugely important within the arena out there. But most of us, as we know, we're club coaches, so they will actually hear you, and the lads talking the pitch are hugely important. Play it on again.
And another one has gone a-begging. It stays at 3-13 for Clare, 2-16 for Cork, 22 points apiece. We got 10 minutes to go. Who's going to win it?
Well, I wouldn't like to call it now, Ger, but some comeback by Cork, you'd have to say they had the momentum. Then Clare steadied the ship, got a couple of points up, or 3 points up, and then the goal again from Cork is huge at this stage.
This is a super act here by Cian Dillon. Collected it beautifully, flights it forward here towards Cathal McInerney. In goes Conor O'Sullivan, but emerging from it is Conor McGrath, and he means danger. He's got a player over. He buries it in the back of the Cork net.
Again, you sit the players down. Now the group is comfortable. Now there's a relationship. Now there's a rapport. You sit the group down. You put them in their defence, the midfielders in attack, and you say to defenders, how did that goal happen? Why did that goal happen? You get the information from them. You have a flip chart in the room, because remember, they're visual learners. 90% of them are visual learners. They have to look at that clip now 2 or 3 times. So all the knowledge and all the answers should come from who? From them, because you're the facilitator. You're not the teacher, you're the facilitator. So now you're developing the critical mind. Are we clearer than that? Next slide. No, we're fine yet. I can move on. This is where it's broken down into, I suppose I can call it formative feedback, but it's broken down to sections or segments for the players. All the tools I'm using there are free on YouTube. And yesterday I went into one of the students, I said to them, I sent this on to Peter on Wednesday, I says, how do I take something from YouTube? And all they said to me was, put in www. Put an SS before YouTube, and you can take it straight away onto memory stick. I didn't know that, but the kids teach me an awful lot in school. If I don't know something IT, I usually go to them and they tell me. So this is it when it's broken down into sections for the players, right? Key sections for the players. And this little clip will show a huge amount of learning and a huge amount of information for the players that they can use in, I suppose, 2 or 3 small chunks. Can we play again there, please? Okay, so what you have there is something that's broken down to sections for the players to absorb. Okay, that can be used from 13, 14, 15 up. They'll have no problem. They'll have no problem going through that themselves and looking at the decision making, the heads up hurling, the movement, the team play, all the kind of rules that we ask them to perform are all ticked. Very often the lads are told, I want you to pass the ball to somebody in a better position. And the kids have a problem, I suppose, linking all them pieces up. But when you show it to them visually, it's a lot easier for them to understand that. Are you clear on that? And again, this is free. It's on YouTube. Anyone can get access to it. The formula, and this is key, and the greatest manager of all time, I'd even say he's the greatest manager, of all time, in all sports across the world. Okay, Brian Cody. Why is he great? Because he's got the knowledge. And he imparts that knowledge and skills onto the players. And I'm sure Kilkenny have a setup where they're given formative feedback at all times regarding game strategy, how to improve things, why certain things happen during the course of the games. Formative feedback is essential. It's where the critical players, critical mindsets come into it. Are we clearer than that? That's your formula. Very, very simple. I'm trying to break it down for you. Framing questions then. So we look up here. Try and ask questions that begin with what, why, how to encourage deep discussion. Allow group members to discover answers themselves. So let the boys piece it all together. When it comes from them, they will learn more from their peers than they will from you. Silence is a powerful tool. Use it to elicit thoughtful responses. Try and reward a question rather than giving the answer. Ask open-ended questions. Why and how? Why and how? Beware of body language. So you have to be very, very careful. Some players will not be comfortable in this environment. You don't do this at the start of the year. You've got to create an environment, first of all, that's safe for the players, that they trust you, and that they're comfortable in a setting like this. Are you clear on that? It would take most teachers the bones of about 3 to 4 weeks to kind of put this together properly when you get a first year class in place. It will take us probably to the end of April, start of May, to create an environment like this for the minors that they're comfortable. But I have to go through the rules of the group first of all. So the minute I come into the room, I will tell them no put downs. Number 1, any questions they want to ask, it's fine. And the third one, the most important one, is there's trust and respect between all of us at all times. Clear values, the kind of overriding theme that's on at present regarding the coach education conference. There's no wrong answers, lads. You need to listen attentively. Okay, they're learning like the rest of us. We're all learning. I'm learning, they're learning. And be aware of quiet learners and ask them to comment on what others say. So you're trying to kind of develop their personalities also, because remember, for me, in our environment regarding the minors, as opposed to what you're doing, is I'm asking to perform in Crow Park in front of 80,000 people. So I'm trying to develop their characters. I'm trying to kind of build them up and obviously get them ready for the biggest test of all. When you do get the group together, all right, and this is something I kind of read from Tony Griffin a couple of years back. When you get a group together and make a connection and have a common purpose, anything is achievable. Anything is achievable. These are wild geese, and they fly from Scandinavia to Greenland every year. They go 2,500 kilometres. But because they do it together, they can go 71% further. If they did it on their own, they wouldn't make it. Another key part to it is this. This lad at the front, or lady, I don't know which, all right, they switch every half an hour. Same as a team, same as a game. The game is in the melting pot. You need someone to come to the front. A player will come and do something. It could be very, very simple, like a hook or a block or a catch or a score. Everyone in the group understands their role. There's trust and relationship and harmony within the group. They all take their turns at the front. Exact same as a team. Alex Ferguson used that with Man United, I think it was in 2008, 2009. That was his team talk. The All Blacks, their focus is improve and develop at all times. If you want a higher performance, you begin with a higher purpose. Again, because we're working at county level, we're working at a higher purpose, okay? We want a higher purpose. But their main goal is to improve and develop at all times. Why they do the haka? You might think it's tradition. It's not tradition. It's one part of it. The reason why they do the haka is it brings them closer together as a group. It's a stimulus. It's a stimuli. It connects them together tight. Their win ratio, I think, is 75%. That's their win ratio. The first group of All Blacks was called the Originals in 1912. They went on a European tour. I think they lost one game or something against Wales. The guy who led it was a guy from Donegal called Dave Gallagher. And every time an All Black gets a jersey, he's handed a notebook with each jersey from each decade from 1912 onwards, that he totally understands that when he gets that jersey, he must leave that jersey in a better position. So you're creating social capital, as the boys touched on last night, which is hugely important. The phrase that they use within the All Blacks is better people make better All Blacks. Better people make better All Blacks. Okay, so you're developing the player, and someone touched on this morning, I think it was Dr. Liam Hennessy, you're developing them holistically, all times. You're trying to make them better people. Kilkenny, they're humble and grounded at all times. You won't see Kilkenny lads doing too many articles in Sunday Independence and Sunday Times, and you won't see them attending high-powered meetings or talks or anything like that. They're grounded and humble. But I got to know TJ slightly this year with the Shinty, the Irish Shinty team, and a great body of people that work here, Anya and Nadine. And I rang Anya, I know Michael Welch well enough because I've worked with him the last couple of years. But I rang Michael and I said, look, any chance of getting TJ for the return leg? I said, we're kind of short of scoring forward, so it's a kind of no-brainer really, isn't it? Hurler of the year, top scorer the whole lot, he'll score. So Anya rang TJ, and TJ had an all-star trip planned as well, and he says, no, he says, I'd rather play for my country in the Shinty game. This is hurler of the year, whatever, 7 All-Ireland medals, he'd rather stay at home and play for his country. They're grounded and humble at all times. Dublin, okay, and again, as in the case of the All Blacks, and Kilkenny and Dublin, they have the right environment, okay? Their players are grounded, they're anchored. On Christmas Day, the boys did charity work. I read it in the paper. I think they spent 2 or 3 hours doing charity work. You might think, why are they doing that? I presume Jim Gavin is educating, you know, that they keep perspective in their lives and they keep grounded. They have the right environment. The All Blacks have the right environment. No, they have the talent as well, so you need that. Very interesting quote regarding rapport and relationship. Everything in the world we want to do or get done, we must do and with and through people, and we often forget that. We must work with people. We must learn to work with people and give, I suppose, build rapport, build relationship again. Put the right people on the bus. So another key part of the environment is putting the management team around you. And again, it's different for us at a county level, that you get highly skilled, qualified people, because gone are the days when the lad is on the sideline holding the water and having a cigarette and having a chat. Them days are gone. They're over. So you need to put the right people on the bus. When you put the right people on the bus and the right conditions and everything else, this is what happens. So I was very, very lucky enough this year to put the right people with me. Okay? All highly skilled, qualified people, 10 in total. So that's what happens. When you create the environment, you put the right people on the bus, you get your reward. But as is the case in Michelangelo, and I stood there thinking to myself, it's hard, hard work, if they only knew how hard it is. But the feeling you get afterwards, you can't describe. I think the best quote I heard to describe it is Jim McGuinness, it's spiritual. It's like you're walking on air. Now imagine Kilkenny nearly get that every year, and they don't ever grow sick of it. So that's why they keep coming and coming back. It's a drug, but it's a wonderful drug. This is Brian Ashton. I've written more than once down through the years of the importance of game understanding. Crucial to this are coaching sessions that put players in problem-solving environments. So I'm a games-based coach. A lot of the lads I have with me are drills-based coaches. But what we try and do is marry the two together. And we learned that from, I suppose, Award 1 and Award 2. Okay, the difference between a games-based coach and a drills-based coach. So putting them in problem-solving environments. You can create that environment in a coaching session, but the real learning takes place afterwards when you create an environment like that and you kind of ask the questions why and how and develop the critical mindset. This is the reading list. So if you want to read anything over the next 12 months, that's what I would have read over the last 2 years in particular. Alistair Campbell, Our Winners Succeed, very, very good. John Wooden, Pyramid of Success, again, he talks an awful lot about values regarding control, honesty, industriousness, empathy, compassion. All the values you need as a coach, it's all in that. And Pat has touched on it as well regarding the Coach 10 model. Then you have Legacy. And I put this down as the #1 book I've read over the last 5 years. It's the whole snapshot of All Blacks, culture and traditions, all in that book. So if you want the keys to the castle, it's inside in that. Sacred Hoops, Phil Jackson, Win Forever, Pete Taylor. Again, I just got this over the Christmas. I have a Kindle, brilliant invention. You can store 4,000 books in it. And I read that, and it's actually very, very good. And obviously, the one at the bottom regarding ADAPT, Tim Harford, why success always starts with a failure. And that's what most of us are on. We're on a journey. Okay, we're on a journey. Can I play the last clip? And just hold it for a second, yeah. I want to show you one more clip. Just pause it there again. This is Inside Out, okay? And I came out of this during the summer with my kids, and I was kind of looking at it, kind of going, do you know what now? There's a lot of information and stuff in that I can use. That's Riley in the middle, and that's her mother and father there. She's after moving home. And Riley's foundation started breaking down for her because the family moved. So like say her school, the juggling we're on about, her family and her friends and her sport were all moved all around the place, and it kind of was very, very destabilising for her. And the parents, what happens is, and this is the best trick about the whole lot of it, is in the animation, they go inside everyone's head. So you know the way you say to yourself, and the minute you touched on it, understand your player. And sometimes you need to look inside the player's head and say to yourself, what's going on in his head? And that's what animation does, it goes inside their heads. And there's 3 different colours or 4 different colours of the people inside their heads regarding, I suppose, joy, envy, anger, and fear. Roll it there.
Trash can is not recycling. It's for greens, like compost and eggshells. And the blue one is recycling. And the black one.
Riley's acting so weird. Why is she acting so weird?
What do you expect? All the islands are down.
Joy would know what to do.
That's it. Until she gets back, we just do what Joy would do.
Great idea. Anger, fear, disgust. How are we supposed to be happy?
Hey, Riley, I've got good news. I found a junior hockey league right here in San Francisco, and get this, tryouts are tomorrow after school. What luck, right?
Huh? What do we do?
Guys, here, you pretend to be Joy.
Wouldn't it be great to be back out on the ice?
Oh yeah, that sounds fantastic.
What was that? That wasn't anything like Joy.
Because I'm not Joy?
Yeah, no kidding.
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did.
Something's wrong.
Should we ask her?
Let's probe, but keep it subtle so she doesn't notice. So, how was the first day of school?
She's probing us.
I'm done. You pretend to be Joy.
Okay,
It was fine, I guess. I don't know. Oh, very smooth. That was just like Joy.
Something is definitely going on.
She's never acted like this before. What should we do? We're gonna find out what's happening, but we'll need support. Signal the husband. Ahem.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say?
Well, sorry, sir. No one was listening.
Is it garbage night? We left the toilet seat up. What? What is it, woman? What?
He's making that stupid face again.
I could strangle him right now.
Signal him again.
So, Riley, how was school?
For this, we gave up that Brazilian helicopter pilot?
Boom, I'll be Joy.
School was great, all right?
Riley, is everything okay?
Sir, she just rolled her eyes at us.
What is her deal? All right, make a show of force. I don't want to have to put the foot down.
No, not the foot.
Riley, I do not like this new attitude.
Oh, I'll show you attitude.
Right, the AV guys enjoying it so much, you just want to play a stop on it. Like, we've all been there, haven't we, at home? I want to introduce a story to finish off with. Pat Lam, an interesting character. He's going to go an awful long way. And people were asking Pat questions, how do you manage yourself and juggle everything? And when I watched that, it kind of came to my mind regarding what Pat was saying to us. Every time he goes home in the evening, he used to do the same thing over and over again. He used to come in, wrecked tired after coaching Connacht all day or coaching whoever. He used to take the shoes off and put the feet up on the couch, and the wife was getting a bit peeved with him. And he went to his course or something, and the guy told him the importance of giving people time. So he was in a reflective session, and he told whoever was in front of me, he says, my biggest problem at present isn't actually the lads, it's not Connacht, it's the wife, he says. And your man says to him, you give her time. Well, how much? He says, 15 minutes. So he went home that evening for the following week anyhow, and he every time he went into the house, he kind of asked her how she was and everything else. And by the end of the week, she was kind of going, Pat was talking to her. And by the end of the week, she turned to him and said, Pat, you know what you don't know yet? Because she was so happy with him. You go in and sit down and put your feet up and take your shoes off and I bring your dinner to you. I hope you've learned something. Why and how. Coaching environment is hugely important. And thank you very much.